we're live. Rob.
Hi.
Dude. You just finished 55 miles.
I did.
How impressive is that?
It's seemingly quite impressive. I think I'm probably more shocked than anyone else is.
I mean, that's crazy.
Well, considering...
Cheers. Sorry, you were started on the coffee, but the beer is obviously going to come out.
Already made a mess.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
To you making 55 miles alive.
I'll drink to that, yeah, definitely.
And what's it called? Is it like I thought there's a marathon, which is 24 miles.
It's called an ultramarathon,
Okay.
which I just think sounds really cool anyway. Ultramarathon, which is basically, I think it's any distance over a marathon.
Right.
Or I read somewhere any distance over 30 miles, but I think it's just any distance over a marathon.
Because I thought ultramarathons were like the 100 milers.
Any distance over a marathon. So once you've done your marathon, if you keep going, then you're into ultra territory.
Wow.
So the ones that majority of people would start off in, I don't do kilometres, so I can't really work out, but they're about like a 33 miler.
Yeah.
That's one that's quite common, good starting one. And then you get your 55s, and then...
That would be 70k, wouldn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something right
I think it was 90k yesterday I did.
Wow.
Yeah. But then you get your 100 milers, you get your 150s. I mean, what really inspired me, I'm so terrible with names, was that woman that Joe Rogan had on.
I'm trying to remember her name.
Is it DeWalt? Someone?
The ultramarathoner, the woman that basically kicked everyone's ass.
238 miles or something. Slept for 60 seconds at one point, and
I'll just so we know her name. Marathon runner. Okay. Her name is Courtney DeWalter.
And something to do with electricity.
She won the Moab Ultra.
That's right. First. I think that was the first of its kind. That distance, like that's the biggest ultra there is out there. I can't even comprehend it. And she beat everyone with like a marathon's distance to go. And
she literally like
by 26 miles. She was ahead. By second place was 26 miles behind her, and she wasn't a known name. Like she wasn't expected to win it at all, but she did. Anyway, just listening to her, and she was so kind of relaxed about the whole thing, and you know, she had a very relaxed diet, and you know, training towards it.
That is a very like nice way of putting it. Actually, like a loose diet. She was eating like nachos and cheese like beforehand and during,
and beer.
Yeah.
There was sort of no secrets to it other than sort of grit and determination and a body that couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But I've never dedicated my whole, like, anything to, like, one pursuit, like, just running or just lifting weights. I was always doing other things, but running has always been a consistent part of my keep fit regime, whether it's 6 miles a week or 20 miles a week or whatever. But every now and again, I would just go full Forrest Gump and just run.
Shit happens.
Yeah, exactly. But whenever I tried those slower runs, I just would think, I think I'm quite good at this. Like I could always seem to find my pace okay. Wasn't fast at all.
Had you ever thought about it before you'd listened to this woman talking, or had you heard about ultramarathons before? And
I heard about it.
Was it something that intrigued you?
It was something that's intrigued me for a long time. I think the first I knew of ultramarathons was from Born to Run, the book, which if you've not read it, you definitely need to run it. It's basically the book that changed the way we run the second time round from, the introduction of Nike running shoes back in the 70s. Well, Born to Run, the guy that wrote that, he was writing about a tribe in South America that were capable of these massive feats of endurance, like 200 miles plus running. So he set up...
I guess through the jungle as well.
Yeah, I think it was more sort of mountainous lands that they're in and stuff.
Still,
yeah, just mountains. So he set up this crazy race to challenge, get some crazy runners that he knew, like total characters. The book they just sound like legit personalities.
Yeah.
And to race against this tribe.
And why did the tribe do it? Like, why did they race? Was it like a coming of age type thing, or Was it just a sport they did?
I'd have to read it again, but I think it was part of their tribe's way of life. I suppose it might have been a remnant of stamina hunting, endurance hunting, or whatever they call it. But
it's probably peacocking for females.
Probably a lot of
everything that's down to tribes comes down to trying to get a mate.
Yes, exactly. I can run 200 miles, and that's the first I heard of it. And I suppose you get to know what you think your strengths are when you're training. And I always thought I was okay at this sort of slow but steady game.
Yeah.
And then the older I've got, the more I've got to know myself. More just the mindset thing. Like that's what I really wanted to do this for.
Yeah.
I wanted to see where my head would go. I think there must have been an element of confidence there that I could do it. But
for as long as I've known you, like I think that's the thing I've always said about you is that you're very headstrong when you want to be in terms of like sport or doing any type of fitness.
Mm.
So when you messaged me saying that you were going to try training for this ultramarathon in Edinburgh, was it?
Glasgow, Edinburgh, yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly what you should do, because you're the type of person that would do it and be successful.
Yeah.
And
well, thanks, man.
And when you asked me, I really wanted to do it, but my back, I'm only just getting over a back injury, so I was like, I want to do it, but then I'm going to kill myself if I try it.
I think at that point I was, what am I doing? And thinking running this on my own is going to be problematic. But I tell you what, actually, number of factors. Everything was against me. Talk about injury, man.
Yeah.
I have not trained for this ultramarathon, like, at all, other than in my mind. I put myself out of action 5 weeks ago. The learning curve from this is like, you know how you make a couple of mistakes and you learn from them, or maybe you just need to keep making them for an entire lifetime. Well,
story of my life, it seems like.
I've said to myself, this is the last time I do this, and this being just setting about something all wrong in the pursuit for finishing it.
Yeah.
I went from running, but to like 50 miles in 3 days. I went from doing not very much running to that.
So what had been the furthest that you'd ran up until that point before you'd sort of start training for it?
A marathon.
A marathon?
Yeah, marathon distance. Not an official one, just when Rory Maiden said about 5 years ago, Bob, do you want to run a marathon? It's like, okay. And then a couple of days later, I went and ran one. But it took me like 6 hours or something. I had no idea about pacing.
Did you just go for it full hog?
No, I didn't. I have no interest in that at all. Like, I didn't until yesterday when actually I noticed how quicker my pace was than I thought it was going to be. But I'm not very competitive like that at all. I like to just, finish. But it was interesting because yesterday I haven't done much competitive things really.
Yeah.
And even then I didn't have people in my sights, but I had a 12-hour window to do it. But I had checkpoints all along the way with cut-off points.
Right. So you had to get in there.
Yeah, and I was proper nervous, like specifically about the third one. So I had to do 13 miles in something like, I think it was 2 hours 40, which was that's totally doable.
Yeah.
But then I needed 4 hours 15 was Falkirk, 22.5 miles.
Right.
But I was 45 minutes under the time there. I'd made up 45 minutes somewhere. And the next one was 33 miles at 7 hours 15.
Right.
And that was the one, because when I was training, the 30 miler I'd done had taken me 7 hours.
Right.
But I'd already done a 20 3 days beforehand.
Right, okay.
That's when I blew my knee out.
Was that wise?
No, not at all. And that's the learning curve. So basically, I'd done those 2 training runs, a 20 and a 30. And I had full-on patella tendinitis. That was it. I couldn't walk. I couldn't run. So
both pretty much the same, I guess. Running,
walk, run.
Just kind of go through your training up until that point for it. Was it solely just 2 training?
That was it. I'm not even joking, mate. So I basically went about it all wrong. I done those 2 big runs. I felt actually okay towards the end. It was like the next day, and I was like, oh, damn it, my knee. And I'd felt that before. When I think it was in the fire service, I'd had that pain before. I wasn't very savvy on runner's knee.
Yeah.
Before, now I am. Ask me anything about runner's knee and how to heal it. But
or how not to get it.
No, or how not to get it. So yeah, I couldn't run. So I started training 6 weeks ago because it was a really early, like late decision to do this.
Right. Is there a cut-off point for it for people entering, or?
I don't know. What do you mean? Like if you've entered and want to pull out, or
no? Like obviously you need to prep for it, so they can't just have people, I guess, entering last minute. Is there sort of a cut-off point?
There was, yeah. I think it was about 10 days before the race or something like that. But I went ahead and booked it straight away, and then destroyed my knee within a week. Literally, it was like, okay, I'll do this. Knee's gone.
You booked it while you were running.
Yeah. Done it, everything wrong. So I had to. Well, it was a whole bundle of emotions because I'd aired the fact that I was going to do it on Instagram, and I'd sort of done that with the idea that if I do this, I'll do it. Like I'm telling everyone that I'm doing it, so I have to do it now. And now I'm thinking, I can't do it. Well, I can't do it. I can't even walk. So how am I going to pull this one off? So I started therapy. Richard Hunter, Octorider, sports therapist.
Big shout out to Richard.
Shout out to Richard. Who, as soon as I met the guy, when those guys, they sort of look at you and they're like, you can see they're like looking through your skin at your muscles, like, right, what's going on?
They're analysing which way you're slouching,
all that kind of stuff. So I knew I was in good hands, and he just started to educate me on where I was going wrong, why the problem wasn't with my knee, and where it was with mechanics, and how we're going to fix it. So it was the usual sort of deep tissue work.
Did you tell him you were going to be doing an ultramarathon?
I told him that was the plan, to which he replied, listen, I totally get it. If I was you, I would do it, but if I remove emotion from it, from a professional point of view, there's no way you're doing an ultramarathon on these knees. It's not happening.
So that was his diagnosis?
Basically, yeah. Well, both of ours. Yeah. Like when you just can't run on those knees when they're like that. But he was really good at what he done, and he started freeing off all the muscles around the tendon that are causing it to be so tight. But then he introduced me to the Voodoo band, Flossing. Have you heard of this?
This sounds extremely kinky.
It was so kinky and so effective, and I wish I'd known about it last year because I had tendonitis in my elbow from kettlebells, and god damn, it was down for months.
Yeah. You sound like everyone I know that's used kettlebells. I have tendonitis from kettlebells.
Yeah, I don't know how good they are for you anymore, to be honest. Says the man who just ran. Can't walk. So basically, this is worth knowing, like as any sporting person, athlete. It's just an elastic band, but a ribbon. It's not joined like a band. Okay. So it's a long elastic band, about, 5 centimeters wide. And you, depending on what area is damaged. So for this one, he tied it around over my patella tendon, below the patella, tight, like stretching it 100% and like 50% behind. So basically, he's trapping down all the muscles below the patella. Then he brings it above, and he does the same. And then you tie it off. So it's uncomfortable. I mean, this is like a giant rubber band that's like just trapping all your muscles and stopping the blood flow. But what it does is when you go full range of motion, like into a squat, it because it's trapped the muscles, it's like half stopping the patella doing its function.
Right,
so you get this mad stretch right along the knee and in the tendon.
Wow. That sounds pretty intense.
It's pretty intense, yeah. But also when you untie it, you get this huge rush of blood back to the area. So, long story short, I bought myself a Voodoo band from Amazon for a tenner and went to town flossing my knees. And I decided, like in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm doing this run. But also half knowing that I'm kidding myself. Yeah. Like I can't do it unless I'm better. So in the 5-week injury zone pre-race, I just started doing everything else that I could do.
Out with running.
Yeah. So I started going barefoot.
Right.
I wanted, I just went full barefoot.
You didn't wear anything?
I didn't wear, I haven't put socks on today for the first time in a
Thank
very
God
long.
you did.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to make any improvement on my feet. I don't even recognise my feet right now. They're horrendous.
Just nubbins.
Oh, they're so bad. I've got blisters in places that don't make sense.
That's weird.
Anyway, so yeah, started barefooting. I bought myself.
And how did you feel that sort of changed what you were doing?
Well, it's basically, I never realised how uninformed I was about running.
Right.
I just figured running was running.
Yeah.
I'd never paid any attention to it with regards to proper technique or form. I always thought I was a pretty good runner. Why did I need to improve? So basically, what I came to understand was that these knee problems that you get, it kind of gives running a bad press.
Yeah.
Like, the doctors know, don't run, go and buy a bike, cycle. But it all comes back to incorrect footwear, like heels and heel striking, but mainly like body mechanics.
Yeah.
So a lot of what was going on with me was my glutes were fast asleep. Like they weren't really switching on. They weren't doing much of a job. So I was having an issue in my whole sort of left side that was putting the tracking off. Anyway, I made, in the book Born to Run, obviously, in the barefoot running and that whole movement, I wasn't naive to the fact that's how we're meant to run. We're not meant to run with big heels on our shoes.
Because it's like a big, massive foam pad that you have on your heel, and it kind of puts your feet in an awkward position.
I hadn't realised how, like, I got, like, it's not just heel striking and that's bad. It's, as a human being, it takes away how your body's meant to propel you forward.
But no one's foot's designed like that, like a massive big bit of padding.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like you don't have this fake bit of padding on your heel, which totally throws out your feet.
No, you don't. You don't.
And your feet, you should treat your feet so well because they're the thing that carry you through this life, literally. And you have to look after them. And having good footwear and things that complement your feet is so crucial. And a lot of people don't even realize it.
That's barely been 5 weeks, and I've made the change to. The shoes that I ran in yesterday were zero drop.
Okay.
Superior Ultras.
Have you seen these Vivo? Is it the Vivo ones? The
Vibram?
Vibrams.
Yeah, I own them too.
How are they?
They're absolutely the best thing in the universe ever.
I'm so excited to get a pair.
Best thing I ever bought in my life.
But they look like designer shoes, but without the massive heel. They're such a slick company. I'm so excited to like order a pair. Like I really want a pair now.
Yeah, I went ahead. I've been wanting a pair for ages, but through determination and wanting to do this race, I just wanted to get my feet in the right footwear. But also, and this is important to mention, like you don't just go from heeled shoes to flat shoes and run an ultra.
There's a transition.
If anything, it can be really, really damaging to you. I can't remember the name of the tendon problem you get in your feet.
Yeah.
Fascia tendonitis or something. But
the thing is, you've been walking on your feet incorrectly for how many years? You can't just then go wear these types of shoes and not expect any problems. You have to take it easy, and obviously
you do. But what I found was when I got my Vibrams, and I was at work. I've got a running machine at work, and my knee was still bothering me. So what I was mainly focused on things like one-legged squats.
Right.
I was using a band from a pull-up bar just to lower me down, just trying to strengthen my legs up. I was doing glute strengthening exercises and just basically giving my feet this overexposure to being barefoot the entire time. But when I put the Vibrams on, I would walk on my running machine and I didn't have any pain.
Right.
And I was actually managing to like get little mile runs out, not fast, and just really paying attention on my knee, like does it hurt or not.
And which type of Vibrams do you have?
I bought the V Trails.
Are those the shoe ones or the sort of ones that have the toes?
The toes, actual toe ones. But see, when you're wearing them, you don't realise how much you use your toes.
Yeah.
And see my balance.
You're like a cat now.
I do this. I do the same cool down stretch after every workout I do. It's like a mix. It's like a yoga mix, like a made up thing that I do. And one of the techniques I do, I'm stretching, but I'm on one leg, and my balance is useless. See now, it's like night and day. And that's such a quick transition, so quickly how your feet just go, oh no, this is where we're at, just from not wearing shoes.
It's definitely something that's important to you, especially if you're an athlete, it's your feet, and it's something that goes over a lot of people's heads. I think there was a guy that was a famous trainer in MMA, and I think one of his student proteges, all his focus is on your feet, like working from the feet upwards, and a lot of his exercises include trying to strengthen your feet, you know, so because all your punches and everything that you do comes from your feet, everything, you know, that's where it starts from. And if you have weak feet or your balance is shit, it's because of it, you know, and you need to strengthen it. And some of his conditioned athletes are amazing.
Is that the guy that works with Conor McGregor? So got like
that's Ido Portal. He does all the sort of animalistic movement. It's a bit of a fad. It works for him, you know, because he's athletic enough to sort of get away with it, I guess. But for, you know, people who are still trying to learn the basics of technique, it doesn't really matter, I guess. And people are trying to copy that now, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about your feet.
It's all about your feet. Another thing that I got introduced to was cadence.
In your rhythm
steps per minute.
Right, okay.
And again, something I had no idea about. I was just so determined to fix a lifetime's worth of incorrect running in a short period of time. So went pretty deep into that, and it was actually Richard that was telling me about the 180 steps per minute rule. Right. So apparently, I don't know when they done this, but they done a test on a load of like top athletes, top runners, to see if they could find an average or something, some common ground. What makes these people successful? And it turned out that once they counted their steps per minute, the people like Mo Farah and stuff, they averaged out all to have 180 steps per minute. But
across what? Like when they're actually competing, or just
consistently? Okay. So 180 steps running at 5 kilometers an hour, 180 steps running at 10. So they're just consistently altering the length and the shortness of their stride, but always at the same steps per minute.
That's strange.
It is, but
it's like some sort of running Fibonacci sequence.
It is but what it basically, so they're the most efficient runners you can get running at that steps per minute. So to teach yourself to do it, I downloaded this app called Pulse, which is was it metronome.
Like piano players have.
And you can set it to whatever. So I set it to 170. About 170 steps per minute is a sort of 10 to 11 minute mile. But what it means is when you run at those steps per minute, you don't heel strike, because you're forced to get more steps in. So you're not hyperextending your leg and landing on your heel. Yeah. If you run at 170 to 180, you instantly correct your running form, and you'll start midfoot striking.
Is that what you're supposed to run with? Is the midfoot as opposed to the heel?
Yeah. So it's hard to sort of articulate without visual demonstration. So some elite runners will heel strike, but the difference between their heel strike and a bad heel strike is they get their heel under their center of gravity. So they're a heel strike.
It's not extended in front of them.
So
it's underneath them.
It's underneath them, and their legs bent.
Okay.
And that's the difference. So because then it's almost like it's a heel touch strike onto the midfoot. Okay. But as long as you've got that bent foot under your center of gravity, then you're not needing to push off like this big push. All you need to focus on is lifting. Okay. And then the rest is down to ligaments and tendons. So the idea of being running is 50% energy, 50% stored energy. And so fast forward, go back a couple of weeks, fast forward a couple of weeks from me doing my one-legged squats and being injured, my knee starts to get better. Okay. I've bought my flossing band.
Do you have knee bother?
Knee bother? Knee bother. Darren. Yeah, I heard
Scottish joke for all you guys out there.
You totally threw me with your hilarity.
So you're talking about like after you were doing your one-legged squats.
Right. So speaking to Richard, my sports therapist, I'm like, I feel my knee's pretty good. I haven't had any pain for a while. I think I might try just a little run.
A little run.
Yes, this is about 2.5 weeks ago. 2.5 weeks ago. So I got my new shoes, my new zero drop shoes on.
And who does the zero drop ones?
Mine are called Ultra Superiors.
Okay.
They're did you see them?
I saw them.
They're like clown shoes. They're the best thing. They're
Dude, you have to see my running shoes. They are the clown shoes.
Really?
Oh, terrible.
These are barefoot zero drops, so these have got really wide toes, so I
Right.
can splay out my toes
Oh, right.
completely at the front.
So yeah, you got
So
them.
I went out for this run, and I'm not kidding myself. I think I was kidding everyone when I said I'll just go for a little practice run. So I stuck my Pulse app on. Tick, 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 tick. I got my new
170 beats.
170 beats. Got my new shoes on, and off I went. And
Sorry, why did you do it 170 and not 180?
because I toyed around at 180 on the running machine and quickly realised that it was way too big a learning curve. Just didn't make sense. My brain was like, this is not working at all well. But I didn't. I actually, it was just down to more reading because I thought it was like 180, that's it. But I then actually discovered no, sort of between 168 to 180.
Right.
So 170 just matched up really well. It's like if you run on the spot, you'll actually find that you're going tick 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 tick.
It's like a natural cadence.
It's like a natural cadence, and you're on the right strike of your foot. And if you just lean your body, like if you just lean forward whilst you're running the spot, you start going tick 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 tick. And if you keep that going, the rule of thumb is nip to hip. So when you're running,
You want to put your nips on your hips.
there's none of this.
Okay.
Like sprinters, it's nip to hip,
Okay.
nip to hip. You shouldn't see any movement from behind from my pelvis, and hardly any from my butt. Not any wiggling butt. Almost like dead straight. Wait, sorry. When you see someone running properly, they look really weird. That's what it's come to look like now. Like if you actually see a legit runner, you're like, why is he running so odd?
Right.
Anyway, sorry, digressed. Went for this run. Ended up running 10 miles. Feeling great. Running like I felt like I've never run before. Like blasted out super fast. 10 miles. I don't remember how fast now, but I remember thinking, pretty sure that was a personal best.
And is this the first time you used the app while you were doing the 10 miles?
Yeah. The difference that made to my running game in one practice session was like night and day.
And what's the app called?
I just use an app called Pulse, but
Okay.
it's not for running specifically. It's
Right.
just a
metronome.
It's metronome. Is it gnome?
Metronome.
Metronome.
Yeah.
I want to call it a dome.
Metrodome.
Metrodome.
Straight to the dome.
Metrodome.
We take the metronome in your dome, so it
Is
makes
that-
sense.
right, okay, fair enough. One of them. Yeah, I think there's various ones, but that was my friend put me onto that.
Okay.
So off I went, felt great, and literally the last, I don't know, half mile, I was like, bugger. I feel my knee a little bit sore, but not panic station sore, just like, I think I'm pretty much a knee injury specialist now. I can sort this with flossing. I've got another 2 weeks at work. It's almost like I gambled that practice run.
Yeah.
I think I'd said to myself, if I don't get in a run, what's the point? There's no chance. So that was a 10-mile run.
You want to keep yourself in that mental headspace of that this is what you're
Yeah.
doing. And if you'd taken that off, you might have not, felt like you were up to it.
Exactly. Although, now I was back in the world of injury
Yeah.
and sort of dealing with it as well. But I think my confidence was up because myself and Richard knew how to deal with it. And yeah, I think it was probably just a matter of days before the race, and still, I was in pain in my left leg. And then I just decided to stop everything.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just going to not bend my leg if I can get away with it. And
How'd you manage that?
no, just I never not quite that far, but within the sort of 48 hours of the race, my knee just felt. When you've been injured for so long that you keep waiting for the pain, but it's not there once it's gone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you kind of like waiting when you walk around the corner, but it doesn't quite happen.
And you're kind of focusing on any sort of little niggle that you think, oh, that's it.
It's back again.
Yeah.
I was
and then it's kind of weird when it's not there. It's like probably like that feeling when you have hiccups and you do your last hiccup and you think you're going to hiccup again, but you're not. Yeah. And you're just like, holy shit.
I literally just had hiccups last night in my bed. At 1 a.m, everything hurt, and I started hiccuping. It was so annoying.
Winner's hiccup. Come on.
It was a winner's hiccup. Something, I don't know what gave me it. I don't know.
So just to sort of almost bring us up to the race, what was your sort of your diet leading up to that?
Pretty... I think my diet, I would probably just have to describe my diet in general as like 50% spot on, 50% terrible. Okay. Like I'm
had you read about what to do leading up to
so sorry, well, okay, so more I knew I'd put a lot of like reading into how to fuel the race diet wise.
Just on the day.
Right. I wasn't so fussed for nutritional gains leading up to it. I kind of figured that was too little, too late. Plus, I
thought maybe you would have upped your carbs. Obviously, if you were doing like these training sessions beforehand, maybe that would be something.
So, I probably would have practiced more with that if I'd been doing more running. But see, to be honest, with the training runs, because it's weird. So, like, if you're going to run a marathon, you're not going to take a bag of food with you. You're probably going to take a snack and have it 5 miles towards the end. You know, if it's a winter marathon, you might just rely on the aid stations for water, not even carry your own water. I can run 20 miles quite happily without eating or drinking on a winter's day.
And how long do you do 20 in? How many hours?
Days. Oh, about days. 4.5 hours. Okay. 5 hours if I'm going slow.
That's pretty good.
It's all right. It's not bad.
So a 4-hour period where you're not eating. Really,
yeah, but
it's not a reach.
And also, you might have reeled me in a couple of times here because, okay, so I've been doing this intermittent fasting now for a while, and my body is really adapted to it. And now genuinely, I don't take in calories till about 3 o'clock, and
I mean that. And when do you stop eating late at night?
About 9 or 10.
Okay.
But I mean, that's now part of my lifestyle. Cool. So it's just fitted in. And I'm also, because of that, very efficient at burning fat for fuel. Not that I've had any bloods taken. I just know I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's working with the reasons I'm doing it. But this kind of set me up with a bit of a weird, like, I really didn't know what to do about it. So
like a dilemma.
A dilemma with regards to how am I going to tackle the ultra, because, like, the famous quote from Ultramarathon is, an ultramarathon is an eating contest with a little bit of exercise thrown in. I mean, that's how it came about. Right. Folk discovered that if you just eat consistently, you can keep going and going and going and going. I mean, that's what it is. You're consistently fueling your body. But if you go in for a marathon, you wouldn't start eating immediately. You'd blast out your 20 miles and you might eat something or a sugar sachet or whatever. With an ultramarathon, the rule of thumb is get yourself a decent breakfast a couple of hours beforehand, and then as you set off, start eating within about 30 minutes. You're going to be burning about 600 calories per hour, but your body can really only utilize 300 of what you're putting in or something. So try and take in a 300 calories an hour. Break that down over the hour.
And what was your breakfast beforehand?
So my breakfast beforehand, well, this was the thing. So this is where I'd got a little bit... So I knew I didn't know, like, from a physiological point of view, because I'd got my body so used to intermittent fasting. Like, if I just on race day instantly eat at 6:30 in the morning, am I going to throw it off a little bit? What does that do with regards to being in ketosis? Or if I start running on an, because until about...
Sorry, what time did the race start?
9 a.m.
In the morning, right. Okay, yeah, so that's like 6 hours before you would normally eat.
Yeah, but I was up at 6:30 in my hotel room, like bandaging my feet up and all that kind of stuff. So up until about 48 hours before the race, I was planning on doing this ultra on an empty stomach.
Fuck.
and then just maybe seeing how I felt. But I don't know, last minute, I spoke to Rory, and he's done more endurance events than anyone I know.
Rory's a common friend of ours.
Common being the right word.
It's the only way you can describe Rory.
Mr. Maiden.
Well, basically how you and I,
Yes.
found each other.
We did, indeed,
joking.
through Mr. Maiden. Yeah, he bailed me out. The night before the race, I actually ended up going through see him and Leanne. I suddenly realised I was
crazy,
but also didn't have sufficient kit. Like, right. I was in a dilemma with regards to what to carry. That's a whole other story. But he was he kind of spared me on to go for breakfast. So, in answer to your question, I had a Huel. Powerful Rory Maidens. I had a Huel.
A Huel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But instead of 3 scoops, I had 4. So it was about a 650 calorie shake. I had it at 6:30 in the morning.
Did you eat it with a spoon?
Do you know what? Actually, because it was in a hotel room, I just had my shaker. God, it was thick. I didn't enjoy it at all, either.
But I don't think you would.
Nah, no. But it was in my stomach. And I had a banana that I started at the race before I started. And then I had my bum bag full of... I found these things called chia charge bars, peanut flavour.
Right. Chia seeds.
Right now it's making me sick, the thought of it, but they are delicious.
Right.
But they gave me the bulk now, but they're 280 calories each. I used them on my practice runs just through thinking they look like they would do, and then complete beginner's luck. I actually found on an ultramarathon website that they're like in the top 5 go-to foods. So I just lucked out.
That's lucky.
Yeah, I was lucky.
What's the number 1?
You get these things called goo, G-U, goo.
Yeah. I bet it's thick. Yeah, it's one of the squeezy
but
ones.
Like nutty flavours.
Oh, really?
Oh, mate. Sorry, it was kind of weird because when I stop, like as you're running, you're okay, but when you stop, you do feel like you've been eating sweets and crap all day. You're like, oh, that's probably got the bolt gone. So it's turning my stomach a bit.
So you're all there with your bum bag before. So what's the sort of lead up to the start of the race like? Like what happens? You get a number. Do you fill in? You say, "This is me. I'm Bob. I'm going now."
I woke up. We get the entry. Got handed our bib numbers. They went online about 3 days beforehand.
Right. Which number did you get?
49.
You know the meaning of life is 42.
Is it?
Yep.
Which is why I got 49.
You've always got to be more.
Yeah, exactly. 7 more. So, and that was basically so we could... Why did we need our bib numbers? Oh, because we could have a drop bag at 22 miles.
A drop bag?
Drop bag, so with more food in it.
Oh, right, okay.
And spare socks and stuff.
Is that something they sort of provide?
No, you provide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Your drop bag, because otherwise you're carrying 50 miles worth of food.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that. And so you put your bib number on that. And also you can have your bag taken to the finish line for you as well. Excuse me. Which was super handy.
Yeah.
So turned up. I got there about 8:15. Lots of nervous kind of looking people and runners. What really surprised me, like I'm sitting there and I'm looking, there's one guy, I clocked him immediately. I'm like, winner. That dude's going to win. Just
right.
like if you could...
Did he have a big schlong? Is that what it was?
He had a big schlong and a massive beard. And he had one of those neck things that... He just looked like an ultramarathon runner. I was like, you've done that before.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's not his first time to the rodeo.
No, and I actually since found out that he came in 6 hours 35
Wow.
Stop and think about that for a second.
What's the record for a marathon? Like an actual... it's like
2:20.
That's like 1/3 of a marathon almost. Yeah. No, 2/3 of a marathon.
The world record, I think, for 55 miles over like trails is 5 hours 5 minutes.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's 10 miles an hour all the way. That's amazing. Like that's running like at a speed that I don't think I could even maintain for a mile. Anyway,
How many people were at the lineup?
So
Is it everyone, or is it just like they do it bit by bit?
no, it's a full lineup. It's not a big race because of the logistics of it, I suppose. The length of it and time of year, they like to keep it to a minimum.
Okay.
I don't think there's that many folk that want to do it either, to be fair.
I was going to say that there's probably not that many people in Scotland that want to run 50 miles.
No. So I think
That a beer stop at least.
mate, I tell you, coffee stop would have taken that over a beer any day. 200 people are allowed to apply.
Right.
From what I can count online, 180-ish turned up and 30 odd didn't complete it or something like that.
That's quite a big number
Yeah.
for an event in Scotland like that.
Yeah.
You didn't think it would be that popular. I think it's maybe having an uptick in popularity, I guess.
As far as from a completely novice point of view, as far as ultras go, apparently it's a popular one
Right.
because guys and girls use it. Like your elite runners, they use that as, I guess, like a serious practice run because it's so flat.
Yeah.
Like that's a good starting ultra. It's not going like up and down and stuff. And then novices like myself use it because
there's no up and down.
there's no up and down. It's just flat. It was all by the canal. So the fourth and Firth canal at the toll bridge is where we started in Glasgow. You basically, the guy just said,
Go.
keep the canal on your right.
Okay.
If it's not on your right, you've gone the wrong way.
You done goofed up.
Yeah. If when you get to the Falkirk wheel, keep it on your right.
Okay.
That was the only tricky bit
Just
to navigate.
vague directions.
Yeah. But he was so right. Literally, if you start at the canal in Glasgow and keep walking, you will get to Edinburgh.
So was it basically from Glasgow to Edinburgh? That was the gist of it.
Yes. Bypassing Falkirk, yeah.
Right.
That was the entire gist of it.
You're
So
lucky you didn't get stabbed on the way.
well, there was a couple of young lads at one point. I didn't hear what they said because I had my earphones in.
One can only imagine what
One
happened there.
those ruffians.
So obviously the starting pistol goes off.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? Like, what's your thought process?
So this is where it kind of got quickly apparent how little experience I had. So the first thing that threw me was I am not used to being surrounded by so many people when I'm setting off on a run.
Yeah. Do you think that was probably something that's to your disadvantage, is training by yourself?
Training by myself. Well, it was kind of because I had my pulse app in, and I was.
So you were using that for the
thing is, I was so conscious about my left knee.
Right. Okay.
Like, so in my head, I'm starting this race. So I guess my ego is like, you got this. But the reality was like, there was much more of a chance of my knee going. Like I was willing to accept that my knee would probably go in the first hour.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try this.
Because when I spoke to you during the week, you were like, my knee's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go for it. And that was, I think I said to you, just, you can only do as much as you can do. And I know you'll give it a full bash if you can, your body, willing. And yeah.
I wanted it, but I was being realistic with myself. I was like, this probably isn't going to happen. So I wanted to start it as technique driven as possible. It was
Were
like,
you nervous when you started?
Yeah, not like losing my shit nervous, but definitely
like something's going to happen.
Something, yeah, like it was a hard one to be too scared of because I couldn't even comprehend it.
You've never done it.
I've never done it. I actually said that to my friends. I think now I've done it, it would be worse doing it again. But yeah, so sorry. I tried using the pulse app, like tick, 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 but there's so many people around me, so many people going faster and slower.
So you can see their pace,
and I
and
could
then
see
it's
their
off with yours.
Yeah, and it was like my feet weren't going with the tick, and I was like, man, this is doing my head in.
Distracted.
Yeah, and I kept it on for probably about an hour, and it actually started having the opposite effect. Like everything was so out of sync that I was just crazy.
And a lot of new things is happening to you as well, I guess. You know, the things that you haven't experienced.
And I don't know about you, but I mean, when I run, it takes me an hour to warm up. I feel like I've never run a mile in my life when I first started.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's awful.
I'm the same. Like when you run the first mile and you're like, "This, why does anyone run? This is terrible.
Absolutely awful.
All I can feel is my bones grinding against each other. Fuck this." And then you get to like 3 miles and you're like, "Oh, I just feel like I'm starting to catch my wind here."
Yeah, exactly.
But most people don't get through that first sort of barrier.
No, they don't. And well, that was definitely a interesting learning curve for me with regards to barriers getting through. But to go back to the start of the race, I got myself really caught up in other people's shit for about the first 3 hours.
Wow.
That turns out it didn't affect my pace at all.
Right.
But so basically, I'd spoken to Rory the day before about some kind of strategy, like based on zero training. Like, what are my chances, Rory? Because I genuinely, based on that 30-miler run I'd done in 7 hours, I was like, that's not fast enough.
Yeah.
That's not fast enough. I'm not going to be able to do that. So I was like, Rory, should I was quite confident after that 10-miler in my new shoes that I was faster than I thought I was.
Right.
So I said to him, should I try and blast out like a fast marathon to buy myself time? He said, no, that's a really bad idea. No, you'll ruin yourself. He's like, slow and steady. Slow and steady.
Wins a race.
Wins a race. So I was like, okay, so we've done that. Anyway, I'd got speaking to a couple of folks beforehand, as many people as I could, like asking them questions.
Shaking hands.
Yeah. Give me advice.
Carry
me.
I'm green as fuck.
And I don't know, seeing now in hindsight, I don't know, but like I'd said to myself, do not say anything to anyone about your knee.
Right.
Don't talk about.
Show weakness.
Don't show weakness. Immediately, I was like, yeah, I've been fucked for 5 weeks. My knee, it's injured. I've no chance.
Were you trying to gauge the reaction?
I
like,
think
you're fucked.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to say, you'll be fine. I mean, look at you. You'll be fine.
It's like knee bother. It's fine.
Instead, I just got reactions to folk. But no, actually, the opposite happened. What I spoke to 2 guys, separate individuals, didn't know each other. And both of them, one of them was like, yeah, I ran a marathon about 8 months ago and it seemed all right, so I'll just give this a go. But I've never run anything past a marathon. And he had like a duffel coat on. And I said, wow, okay. I have no idea if he finished it, but I was like, I feel at least I look more professional.
I hope he didn't even get 10 yards with a duffel coat.
Exactly. I'm not kidding. An actual duffel coat.
That's crazy.
With just
Did he have his hands in his pockets?
The whole work just had his bib number on the front of the duffel coat. And then I spoke to another guy, and he was like, oh, I've got a mate at work that's like a serious runner. He does these things in like 7 hours, and he's like, he said something like, he's a really he's like one of those guys, like he manages to convince you about things because he makes them sound so good. Yeah. So like before we knew it, 4 of us from the office have agreed to do an ultramarathon, and that was 9 weeks ago. I was like, okay, so there's a few folk here that are really in novice territory. As I started running, and this is what threw me a lot, was I started to come up on these guys, the guys that were with their mate who's the ultra runner. And
Sorry, yes, continue.
so I started coming up behind these guys, And I noticed that they were with their mate, whom they'd said was like the legit runner. And so I was just being nosy. I caught up with him. I was like, how come you're running with those guys? You're just keeping them company, knowing that it must be quite an agonizingly slow pace for him. He says, no, I'm pacing them for the first 6 miles. I've given them a strategy plan. And he's talking to me about it. He said, so basically I've worked out for these guys, if they run at 6 miles an hour for 50 minutes and walk for 10 minutes and do that till the end, they'll get there in time, with time to spare.
Right.
I was like, okay. Now,
and you were having this conversation while you were running.
This was only like an hour in or something like that. Like this.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
were you like,
yeah.
It was
Yeah. I was like, 10 minutes walking every hour. So then I start trying to work out sums in my head whilst I'm running, which is like terrible idea. And I'm kind of getting consumed about it. But okay, so as I've been made aware of their plan, they hadn't got to a walking pace yet. Anyway, then they started walking. So I just kept going.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. And you're not looking behind you, but you know, when you're running and you've got someone behind you, you sort of lose yourself. You have no idea how far behind you they are or anything.
You're thinking about them, basically.
Yeah. But I'm also thinking, I don't want to stop and walk. But then that's making me feel more tired because I'm like, I don't feel confident enough that I can walk right now. And I wasn't.
And when was this? Well, how many miles in were you before?
About 6, probably just 6.
And how were you feeling?
How was I feeling? Actually, the first 10 to 12 miles weren't overly comfortable. But I'd noticed the exact same discomfort in practice runs at those miles. It's like my feet are trying to adjust or something. You just get like weird pains in them, like pains that you could go, should I stop? Or should I keep?
Probably should.
Yeah. But I've done it enough to know that it does pass if you just sort of run through it. Anyway, the next thing, those guys that have stopped to walk for 10 minutes and I'm running are now overtaking me. I'm like, well, what the fuck am I running for then? And then this happened for like another hour and a bit. I would catch up.
Were they taking their 10 minutes?
They were doing 6-minute miles for 50 minutes, so 5 miles, then walking 10 minutes.
And they were walking.
And they were walking 10 minutes. But so I would pass them and I would keep running, still not walked. And then the next thing, here they would come again, running past me. All right, Bob. That's really demoralizing. It's so annoying.
And there was a guy in the duffel coat, was it?
No. This was the group of guys that had been talked into it by their ultramarathon mate. And anyway, I think they managed to shake me in the end. Yeah, they shook me in the end, and I was like, right, okay, they're walking and beating me. Not that I'm racing anyone, but it was the way that they'd said it, that if they do that to the end, they'll get there in 12 hours. I'm like, I don't think that works out. Like, I've worked out a pace for 12 hours. I think that means that they'll come in a bit quicker. Anyway, then I came upon another boy walking, older boy. I mean, okay, he's walking, so I overtook him, and I'm not quite at 15 miles yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so overtook him, and then a couple of minutes later, the dude passes me, and then I lose him round a couple of bends, and then he's walking again, so I overtook him, and then no sooner have I overtaken, he's gone past me again. I was like, God damn it. And anyway, then this guy, so now I'm going on in my head, I'm not doing this right.
Yeah.
Like, clearly, and I'd read every bit of information about ultramarathon says walk.
Yeah.
Like even
really?
Yeah, even if you come to a little hill,
just walk it.
Just walk it.
So you were going against the grain.
Yeah. So I was like, no, my only chance of doing this is just going. Just don't stop running until you finish.
Just Forrest Gump it.
Forrest Gump. So eventually, the dude that was doing this running, the lone runner, I managed to sync up with him walking, and I was like, "Dude, what's your plan?" He's like, "Oh, I'm running a mile, walking a minute, running a mile, walking a minute. I'll do that all the way to the end." Dude, that guy's plan got him in, because I spoke to him after. He was in about an hour and 20 minutes before me.
Wow.
Walking a mile, and the dude must have been mid-60s, I reckon.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I would have thought if you start to walk, then you start to feel fatigue.
So this is where that was my mindset.
Right.
Until about about 20 miles just before the Falkirk wheel. I was so shocked at my pace. I'd made good pace, under 4 hours, that I started to walk. Maybe for, I think I timed 5 minutes. And then when you started running again, it was like, what a difference.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was like the biggest reward you could give yourself.
Right,
It was just, and the difference, it was as if I'd sat down, had a coffee and a pipe and lain down for half an hour and just got on with it again.
I guess it makes sense. That woman that recently won, the ultramarathon, that was
sleeping for 60 seconds.
Yeah, she fell asleep for literally a minute, and she said she felt like she'd been asleep for 8 hours.
Yeah,
and she felt so refreshed and got up and ran. I guess your body just takes what it can get, and then it adapts.
Yeah, definitely. And so that initial first walk that I did, that was like sort of learning curve. So the first learning curve was don't pay any attention to anyone else's style for now. Second one was reward yourself with walks. You've made enough time to do it. Walks are amazing.
Yeah.
So I then sort of set about, I wanted to give myself rewards, and I thought, right, I'll try and do it every hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, man, something just happened that I didn't expect. Between 20 and 40 miles, I don't know who was moving my legs.
Yeah.
Because, I got to marathon pace, and I mind feeling like, I'm sorry, marathon distance. I got to 26 miles. So I feel all right. I feel good.
When you looked and saw that you'd run 26 miles, was there a little milestone?
So that was the first. Yeah, so big one, big milestone, big mini victory. Okay, we're at 26 miles. What I was really aiming for was checkpoint 3, 33 miles, because that's the one I was scared for my time for. But yes, that was the big milestone. Really happy with my pace. And then checkpoint 3, 33 miles, and I was an hour in time. I was an hour and 10 minutes faster than I was on my training run.
That's good.
And that was with 3 miles more.
That's crazy.
On top of it. But see, I hit a wall. I knew I'd hit a wall about 18 or 19 miles, but I knew that I could get through that wall. But I hit a wall about 33 miles. Like a kind of wall where I forgot where I was where I just sort of really just gone in on myself.
Yeah.
When I finally snapped out of it, I don't know if it was for a couple of miles, I was hunched over and I was staring at the ground, and I must have been a right pain in the arse for anyone trying to overtake me, because I was just...
Were you still sort of running, or were you just...
Yeah, no, I was still moving forward, but... this is going to sound... I don't know what this is. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. So, before the race, I'd showed my mum the entry list. I was having tea with my mum, or
high tea
scones,
with your mum.
Scones and jam with mum, and
who Robert?
I said exactly, and we were going through the list, and it was like 90% guys, and I sort of made a joke with my mum.
If you get beat by any girls.
Well, no, I was like, God damn it. I said, what do I need to do to find some women in my life, mother? I thought maybe this would be the one hobby that I would choose where there might be at least a 50-50 ratio. It's not like any other. You go to the body academy where things are changing in the gyms now. Yes. Anyway, she said, so you wanted to meet a girl there? I was like, no, but it would be nice to have a really pretty girl in front of me to motivate me to keep running. Just kind of joking.
Yeah.
Anyway, at 33 miles, God answered and this lady, woman... delightful female person overtook me and just tucked in front of me at my pace, and motivated me to keep on moving, to the point where no sooner she'd been in front of me that my pace picked up and I had to overtake her again. I think a little bit of ego kicked in at that point. I
was going to ask, was it a sort of ego thing that
I didn't think it was at the time, because I was really happy behind her. I'm not even joking, honestly. I just needed that at that moment. and like her's awesome. So anyway, I overtook her purely because it was uncomfortable at the pace I was at behind her. And then, dude, that was the best. That was the most solid 8 miles of the race, and I do not know where it came from. Right. I mean, talk about...
And how many miles in would this have been?
So that was about 33 to 40 miles.
Right.
And that right there was like, if there was a reason for doing this ultramarathon, it was that. Right. It was the what you think you've got compared to, you know, what you don't think you have compared to what you've got. And it's like, because you find yourself at this pace and you're like, oh, I cannot move any faster than that. Like, but then you're like, or can I? You know, and so I just would lean a little bit more forward, pick up the little pace, even if it's like by 0.3 miles per hour, just bring myself back up to 5.1.
And how were you judging your time with the?
So my dad gave me a handy down Garmin, but like a really old school one. Garmin?
Is it like a Fitbit type thing, is it?
Yeah, it's like go-to runner's watch.
Okay.
Like it's super accurate miles per hour. The new ones have got cadence and stuff on them. Right. But my dad is like 9 years old, and it's
9.
Yeah, it's like it's huge. It's like a mobile phone on your wrist, and the new ones are tiny. But I tell you what, see 35 miles in, see the amount of folk that stopped to ask me how many miles in because their watch had died.
Right.
Battery had died. Old school. That thing was solid. Didn't even beep out at me. So yeah, I was gauging my speed on that, and I think just through necessity, I was just going and going. But I'd been watching a lot of. Maybe I'd done it on purpose, but I was watching a lot of guys online, like, you know, Tim Kennedy, fighter. Like,
he's a war vet as well, is he not?
I think he's still active. He might be in Iraq right now as we speak.
He's a badass motherfucker.
Might be one of the badass motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life, actually. He's
slightly too pro-gun for me. But
yeah, but I was watching his just sort of like work ethic, and I was listening to Jocko Wilkins.
Jocko Wilkinson.
And I find
the guy that was on Joe Rogan, he's basically motivated himself to do like 100 miles, I think he did.
Did he?
I think 100 kilometers was the ultramarathon he did first. I think.
Are you not thinking of
Jocko Wilkins?
Did he do one? I thought you were thinking of the bow hunter guy that does the
No.
Oh right, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, did you listen to the podcast with him?
About this 100?
Yeah.
No, I knew nothing about this.
Him and Joe Rogan. Yeah. I thought this was maybe where you got your inspiration from.
Him and Joe Rogan are going to do
He was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I know that, but I didn't know they were doing some marathon thing.
No, he's done it. That was his thing now, as he does the sort of, like the 100 milers, I think he did, or something. Let's see.
Are you sure are you not thinking of... God damn it. The bow hunter guy,
No, I know who you're talking about. This guy's like the guy that's the motivational guy on YouTube.
Yeah, Jocko.
Yeah, he did like 100 miles.
Oh, all right, okay. Well, I didn't know that, but I was listening.
But he talks about it on that episode, and basically he had no training. He went from being a bodybuilder and just because he's so headstrong, he did this like 100 miler. Oh
no. You're thinking of the Navy SEAL, but the black dude.
Yeah.
You know, that's not Jocko. That's the guy that's got like a 1 billion world record, most amount of pull-ups, most amount of push-ups, runs like 100 miles a week, does a marathon every morning.
Did you listen to that?
Used to be morbidly obese. Yeah.
You were thinking of. I was thinking of Cameron Hames.
Yeah, I thought because he does the ultras. But my point being was I was listening to these kind of jock-ish type of men that can sometimes be a bit hard to swallow, but when
atypical sort of men,
who if I'm not, I probably shied away from mostly, but
there's a time and a place.
There's a time and a place, and that mindset that they have when it comes regarding pushing yourself. It's like, okay, I need to learn from these guys, and I tell you what, that I think it was Tim Kennedy or Jocko or both of them. It's maybe like an army thing, the 50% rule.
Yeah.
Dude, that pushed me through this race all the way.
But I think you have that mindset. Like, I think you genuinely could do legit what any of these guys could do in terms of their mental toughness, but you do it in a way that's slightly different. Like, you're not doing it because it's some macho bullshit. You're doing it because you genuinely can just push through it.
Yeah.
And it is a mental toughness. I don't know where it comes from, you know, but it's not because, like, you're some Navy SEAL or whatever. It just seems like it's part of your personality. And I've seen you do, like, workouts and whatever, and you just... I was talking about it on the podcast yesterday. You're kind of like an extreme example where it's not because you're not intelligent. A lot of people that can push through like that are sort of maybe just slightly not as intelligent as most people.
Yeah.
But they just, I think the mind and the body connection is not there enough where they just can go through that sort of pain. But you are slightly different. Like you're intelligent, but you can also force your mind to do this, or your body. And I think that's something that I've always said about you. And it's brilliant.
Thanks, man. Do you know?
Sorry, I'll stop licking your...
No, sorry. I don't know what to do with compliments. Cheers. No,
Podcast's
thank
over.
You. Yeah. I was thinking about this last night, and like, bear with me because this might sound ridiculous, but I was like, okay, so where does an individual get a mindset that says, okay, so you can do this, or I can push through anything, and you don't know it until you're going to try it.
Yeah.
You get a good... I'm 37 in a couple of days.
Wow.
You get a good idea of yourself. And there's a couple of things, like sort of one thing I said to myself, Christ, if you can go to the jungle, you can do this.
Yeah.
But also, you know, with my past with like the depression, you know, mental health, which isn't something I shy away from talking about, those are, in order for me to have got through those chapters in my life, and for order for me to remain mindful now, when those episodes happen, I get through them by telling myself, I've been here before, this will pass. This will pass if I do this, and this. It won't, and it'll linger if I do this, and this. So you learn to sort of recognise discomfort for what it is and how to get over it.
Yeah.
But also as well, this sounds kind of ridiculous, but I genuinely... I haven't said it out loud, so it might sound ridiculous when I say it out loud. But the last time I was on here, we were talking about how when I hit my crisis point, I came off the rails. Yeah. And was it the first time or the second time you came on? I thought you meant off the rails. Fourth? Second, third. I think we brushed on it both times, but I elaborated a bit more in the second time. But when you lose your shit like that, when drugs are involved, and alcohol, lots and lots of, like, sleepless nights, days, horrible things in your head are going on. And as completely opposite as they are, it builds some kind of endurance. You know, like...
It's like a sort of cocoon, I guess, like a sort of tough sort of shell.
Yeah, you're stuck in some dingy flat, everyone's coming down, no one's slept for 32 hours, and you're just having a slog forward and get yourself home anyway. You know, and you don't think about, I'm training right now. But I tell you what, when you do that enough, it doesn't become something that's...
I guess you can ultimately be your own worst enemy. And nothing that no external forces can be greater or worse than what you can do to your, that can be done to you, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that something you would, there's nothing that you're going to experience externally that's probably been as bad as your lowest points that you've did to yourself.
Yeah, there isn't. There's nothing that marathon could have thrown at me psychologically that has been any worse than I've done before. The only harsh reality yesterday would have been if what happened at 4 miles to go happened any earlier, because then it would have been a race over.
So what happened 4 miles to go?
My knee went.
Oh, yeah.
My other knee. Not the knee that Richard fixed. It was fine. It ran 49.5 miles without a glimmer of actually.
It ran 3 miles more than the
It
other
ran
knee.
3 miles. Yeah, so that's not true at all. So basically, I'd been given some advice. I'd been told if your knees hurt, if a knee hurts, swap the side of the road that you're running on
Right, okay.
for camber.
Okay.
And you know something? It bloody worked.
Is that something you kept in your head when you got to that point?
As soon as a knee, instead of like, as soon as I felt pain in my knee, and the path was only 1.5 meters wide, but I would just move either to the middle or to the other side, and it bloody worked. After about 20 strides of running on a different camber, the pain would ease off, and I was able to manage the knee pain right through the race. I couldn't the whole time. I was like, no, that's a lie. I actually got to the point where it's fine, it's working, and then 49 miles in.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, my right knee just went. It's that type of pain where it's sort of like every step it just goes. Doosh, boom, and could not run on it. Like just nope. But I had about 2 hours left
to finish.
Yeah, and I had 4 miles to go. So I ended up coming in at 11.5 hours, but I could have been a damn sight quicker if it wasn't for that knee. I was just so happy that it that it went at 4 miles. Even if that had been 7 miles or something, it could have been cutting it fine, really fine.
Was there a decision that you had to make when you started to feel that knee bother? Like, I'm just going to work through it, or I've got as far as I've got. You know, I would be happy just to sit out now. You know, obviously.
It wouldn't let me run on it. Like that was it. I could not run on it, but I could walk on it. The pain was pretty non-existent walking on it, and I was able to keep a good pace. So the thought of, I'd have picked up a stick. I'd have made a crutch. I'd have done something with that. I mean, if I was 4 miles away and with 40 minutes to go on a knackered knee, then I'd have kept going because there was no checkpoints between there and the finish, and they would have just had to have said yes or no to giving me a medal. But no, I was going to cross the line after that pace. That's for sure.
So the last 4 miles, you're walking. What happens when you see it? Is there a visible finish line, or is it just a bunch of guys like, come on, Bob?
Do you know something? Credit to the people that organised it, because obviously at every checkpoint they have to check your numbers, and they had a big team of people with like boxes of food and water and stuff. But they would see your number in the distance coming, and then they would check you. So by the time you got there, everyone was going, "Well done, Robert, you're doing great." So it was a nice personal touch. That really lifted my spirits.
Sorry, I don't know your name.
Yeah, I don't know. Well done, number 49.
No, you're saying that the guys say
oh
that.
yeah, sorry,
I don't know your name.
I felt like a right twat as well. See, when I got to the Falkirk Wheel, had my headphones in.
Most people do feel like a right twat when they get to the Falkirk.
This is what I came to see. And this guy next to me, I just figured he was a runner, but I just figured he was stocking up on food like I was. And I had my earphones in, but I'd sort of half pulled them out in case anyone wanted to speak to me. And I think I'd said to the guy, "Hey man, how are you?" or something like that. And I didn't really listen to what he said, or I didn't hear him properly. So I was just like, "Oh, that's great, man. Good. Keep it up." And then as I was running away, it was like my brain finally heard what he said.
Like a register.
It registered, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I've done my hammy, and man, I'm going to have to bail." Totally gutted. And I'm like, "That's really awesome. Keep going." I feel like such a twat.
That guy must have been like,
"Yeah, that guy's
never doing this ever again." There's just jocks running this race
totally.
the whole time. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, man. Good effort.
Cool story, bro.
So that filmed me. Anyway, that only lasted for a couple of miles. Yeah, and at the finish, it was a bit. It wasn't.
Did you have anyone waiting for you, or?
No.
Okay.
It's totally okay. That no one turned up.
Play the little violin music at this point.
No, I had my pals Chris and Linda they had ordered me a taxi, went back to theirs.
You ran straight into the taxi. You were like, I'm off.
The nick I was in.
Yeah.
The finish was it was a bit, I don't know what the word is. It was like, I thought, I was, I don't know what I was expecting from myself, but it was more like, thanks, guy. Like, they were like, yay, well done. You know, but it was dark by then and it was cold, and I was like,
basically, they were like, hurry up.
Yeah, but I think they were sort of, and then they just navigated me into a church. And I could tell people were a bit concerned about me. I was ruined.
Right.
Like, when I was so ruined, I could hardly weight bear on my legs.
So you crossed the finish line. How were you greeted? Are you greeted by anyone?
Just I guess the organisers. I don't know who half of them were, to be honest.
Did they put like the tinfoil around you?
No, none of that. None of that. No, it was. To be honest, I started to get a little bit anxious because of my.
Is this an actual race? I've not seen it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I had no.
Somebody's just collecting all the money and.
See, for the last 10 miles, it was me, 2 lassies, and a dude. It's the only people, and we were doing.
Changing over.
Kind of doing this, and I didn't see anyone else, and I was like, don't know where I'm at in this thing at all. But my watch said 53.9 miles.
Right.
I was like, where? I feel like I should be seeing the finish by now. Where is it? Because I wasn't sure. They'd actually changed the finish, so it was a mile shorter. It was 54 miles, not 55 miles.
Why did they do that?
Logistic reason. I think some.
Was that on the day or?
No. It was a couple of maybe a week's, or I think it was something they couldn't hire the place out or something like that.
They're probably just waiting on you, and they were like running with the tape to try and get you across the finish line quicker.
Yeah, exactly. But I bumped into like one random dude who was just stood on the path, but I had my earphones in, and. I was like, he didn't have any yellow vest or anything on. But as I ran past, I could tell he'd said something. So I took my earphones out. And he's like, you're doing really well, man. Only a mile to go. So, okay. I don't know who that was, but he seems to know more than I do.
And you're still walking at this point?
I was still walking.
Okay.
I did. I walked the last 4.5 miles. Yep. So then finished, got guided into
a
church
to be saved.
To be saved.
Resolved of all your sins.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the place was just full with
dead people.
It was full with like people that had run the race, showered, had a massage, eaten, had a cup of coffee,
Yeah,
looking fresh faced as hell. And the guys that were doing the 50 minutes running, 10 minutes walking,
yeah.
they obviously had no faith in me at all, because when I walked in the door, literally the boy just went, "Bob!" Like, so surprised to see me. I was like, don't be so shocked.
No sign of duffel coat, man.
No sign of duffel coat. Unless he just beat us all.
Yeah. Or he took it off.
Or he took it off or something at all. I don't know what happened with that guy at all, actually. I don't want to judge a man on his jacket. He just gave me a little bit of confidence at the beginning, that was all. Maybe I can...
So, what were the sort of leaders like? What were their times?
So... okay, so it would probably give or take a couple of minutes. I checked it today. It just went up today. I think the first place came in at 6 hours 35.
Wow.
I think top 6, first 3 men, 4 to 6 place were women, and I think it went from 6.5 hours to about 8 hours 45.
Wow. How do you even run like that?
Extraordinary,
That's crazy.
isn't it? Yeah, I know. There's one guy, apparently, I was speaking to his pal, he can do does sub 3 mean less than 3?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Marathon. So he does that and then walks for an hour and then just does another one. I was like, imagine being able to run a marathon so fast that you can just chill out for an entire hour and then go, right, I'll do another one now.
But is he the fastest?
No, I don't think he won, but I don't think he was trying, really.
That's a crazy sort of like tactic.
Yeah.
Just go crazy for a marathon and then...
But the guys that are winning it, they're just full marathon pace for 55 miles.
Where did this all come out of? Because when I was younger, I always just assumed that the marathon was the longest anyone could run. You know, when you're really young.
Yeah.
And then it exploded out of nowhere. People are just in like these ultramarathons and the Moab and like 200, like the Bigfoot 500 or something like that as well.
You just hit the nail on the head. Like, exactly. It was a case of where the goalposts were put at. So we just decided as humans, because of the dude that ran to Marathon.
His name was Marathon.
Marathon. The place might have been called Marathon.
No, I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah. Well, I was in Athens and we had this woman who was like taking us around the Acropolis.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how the dude ran from 25 miles away.
Yeah.
And his name obviously was Marathon.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy story. It was so cool to be in the place where all this sort of stuff happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
I
digressing.
mean, way cooler. His name was just like Ted.
Yeah.
Folk just ran a
Ted
Ted.
Marathon.
When I run the London Ted.
Or balls.
The balls, yeah. But so basically, that we've just said to ourselves as people, well, that's the go-to distance. That's what we can run. But I really think this whole it was born to run. I mean, that book changed things. It's a really well.
In what way did it change?
That actually we can shift the goalpost, because the big thing about this tribe that run this distance, God, it's been so long since I read the book, I can't remember it. But the thing that their secret was this food that they ate.
Okay.
This is how they fueled themselves. They would eat and run
Steroids.
and eat and run. But human growth hormone, exactly. A little bit of anabolic steroid mix there. Christ, I was thinking about that leading up to. Anyway, different story. And yeah, just change the goalpost. Like, why have we said to ourselves we can only run 26 miles? Because it turns out we're capable of doing that. Like that guy.
Drastically more, though.
Drastically more, yeah.
I mean, think about some of the marathons, ultramarathons that are going on now. That is like almost like 5 times more, probably more, across the span of a week.
Do you think if there's anything that human beings evolved to do, it was run an ultramarathon.
Yeah.
It was to chase down a beast that can't sweat till it's done with exhaustion, and you just
sweat and just
blow over, because we can just keep going and going. Like,
push it over.
Yeah. I mean,
but that was seen as the sort of the upper ranks of that is 26 miles. When you think about it, that is a long way to run. And now...
Half season.
No, on you go. You can go for it. And now it's like sort of comprehensible to run even 50 miles. Mm-hmm. And that's like the lower end of the sort of ultramarathon, is it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like you could essentially run from Perth, Scotland, all the way to Glasgow in 11 hours.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying. Well, it's funny, my dad...
But it's not the time. It's the fact that you can last that long to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you can physically go and run that.
Mm-hmm.
Not the time. The time doesn't matter. It's the fact that you can consistently just run on one stretch to get from one place to the other that far.
And it is really, like, the sort of 8 miles between 32, 33 and 40 miles. Like, if I'm going to be tired, it's going to be at that mark. And... that was the moment, like what we're just talking about. Like, I didn't. It just felt like something had taken over in that sense. Like I'm just
in the zone.
Yeah, I'm just totally in the zone at this mark, leading up to 40 miles. This is where I feel my strongest right now. I was holding the same pace then as I was at the very beginning, and then I started to teeter off.
I guess you become sort of more efficient. Like everything you've learned up until that point during the marathon that you're sort of optimizing. And then...
See the difference as well, though, in like studying correct running form. I'd never paid any attention to it before. So things like, okay, so my pace is slowed, I'm feeling shit. Upright. Like instantly, just remember... Like one guy's as if you've got a pole sticking out your head down your body, completely upright, not looking down, looking straight ahead, and instantly you just correct your posture, and all of a sudden you're back into that sort of that form, and nip to hip, and then I was finding it again.
It's just adjustments, every so often to sort of keep you in optimal position, I guess.
And I was making a point. I think it's a thing at ultras. Footwear, everyone was checking out everyone's feet. Everyone, like I could see at the start, everyone was. It was like, in fact, I caught one woman looking at my shoes.
She's wearing high heels. Get her out.
But almost everyone I saw, other than a couple of folk, had like zero drop shoes on.
Okay.
No one was running in.
Who
like,
makes them again?
Mine are called Ultras, Superior, but there's a load of...
Is that a brand? Or is
that's
just
a brand,
mark?
So there's a guy here... Oh, how did this happen?